Hello and welcome to another very windy day outside Fairfax County Court. I've got the flag in the background so you can just see and hear how much it's blowing around. This is Reporting Depp v. Heard. My name is Nick Wallace. I have been in court today, as I have been at court every single day throughout this 3-week so far trial, and we've had a day of recorded depositions, which hasn't been too thrilling, although there were one or two revelations which I'll tell you about, or which I will leave my park bench interviewees to tell you about. We were mob-handed today on the park bench. You will meet them in a moment. Yeah, every trial has this. Every event of any length has this. We've had the excitement of the opening. We've had the excitement of one of the principals in this litigation taking the stand, Johnny Depp. And then I think we're going to have a period now where things go relatively quiet. The queue was a lot smaller today. Fairfax County Court behind me was not as busy, certainly not in the afternoon. We had a number of people who queued up early for tickets and decided that maybe watching a live court case and recorded depositions wasn't necessary for them. Also, lots of contretemps in the queue. I think the number of people who are, I wouldn't call them super fans, but just sort of hardcore supporters, dedicated people who want to be here in court very, very early, are running out of gas because getting up early and standing in a line for a long period of time in order to get a wristband, in order to wait 3 hours for court to start, is not anyone's idea of fun. It's something that the reporters as well as all the spectators have to do as well, and I can speak for myself when I say it is getting a little bit wearing. This is something of an endurance test at the moment. But nonetheless, there were some good witnesses, even though they were by video deposition today.
It should be in the heart of the South.
Hello and welcome. I'll get in shot. I'll start again.
There we go.
Hello and welcome to Park Bench interview of the day. This is week 3, day 3. Everyone's running on fumes, but I am delighted that I'm squeezed onto the park bench today, joining Jennifer, Java and Sharon. Say hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello, ladies.
Now we're doing an interview chronologically, and we're going to move along the bench because I've only got one microphone. So Java and Sharon are just going to sit there looking spectacular while I talk to Jennifer.
Sounds good.
We've divvied up the witnesses. That's what we've done. We've got a little project each. So we're going to start talking about the police officer witnesses that we saw this morning.
Yes.
What did you make of them, Jennifer?
Very professional. They knew what they were doing. I've had interactions, unfortunately, with domestic violence, so I knew the officers what they were going to say before they said it.
And what did they say?
They basically had said that they needed to go in, they needed to secure the scene. They would always ask the questions before they secured the scene just to kind of get the basic lay of the land.
We should give some context to this, shouldn't we? There was a DV call that went out to the LAPD, and 2 sets of officers attended over the course of the evening of the 21st of May 2016
Yes.
at the Eastern Columbia building, the residence of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. They were called to this event, and we heard yesterday, didn't we, from one of the officers
Yes.
who was on the first call. Tell us about the 2 officers that were giving evidence today and what they said they saw when they reached the Eastern Columbia building.
The first officer was the First Lady's partner and had said that there was no evidence of any kind of an assault or an altercation, that Ms. Heard had no marks on her, so they didn't feel that there was anything possibly more than a verbal altercation between the 2.
Because it was very interesting, wasn't it? We found out a little bit about police procedure, didn't we?
We did.
That if they thought a crime had been committed or suspected a crime might have been committed, they would make a report.
Yes.
Or if the person who had made the call out, or the call out was about, referred to as the victim in this case, made a request for a report to be made.
Yes.
And because, as I think Tyler Haddon, the officer who attended first, said, the witnesses were uncooperative, and on their initial assessment they felt it was a verbal
altercation
dispute, they did not make a report.
No.
And you've got some insight into this, you said?
Unfortunately.
Oh, okay. So are you able to explain it?
I'm perfectly
Go on,
fine.
go on.
I had an ex who was incredibly abusive. I was with him for 5 years. The police were called by neighbors on multiple occasions. On most of them, there were physical marks, so the officers were able to take photographs.
I'm terribly sorry that you went through that horrendous experience. And we ought to say that the officers were adamant that they didn't see any physical marks on Amber, on Ms. Heard.
Yes.
and that was one of the calculations that they made as to why they concluded it was a verbal dispute. And so you've had experience of the police being called to your premises then, and you said that what your experiences was reflected in what you saw the LAPD do there.
Yes.
So, because of course the counterclaim that is being made against them by Amber Heard's team was that they were unprofessional.
They were very professional.
They didn't use, Elaine Brederhoft, who was cross-examining, didn't use the word lazy, but the sort of the implication was that they hadn't done their job properly, that they just did a quick sweep. They were there for a lot less than they thought they were, and went in and out. You are not holding any truck with that? I
don't believe anything that she had to say as far as that's concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Their job is to get in to make sure that everybody is okay. If everybody is okay and the people are uncooperative, basically it's just you leave. If you get called back, you get called back, which obviously they did.
Yeah, well, no, hang on. This is what I didn't quite get to the bottom of it, and I know I probably should have done a bit more reading on this area, but I couldn't quite work out whether it was a call that had gone through the system twice or whether it was a secondary call that was made from another. Because we had the call from the NYPD, didn't we, who then contacted LAPD because of the way that the call was made about what was meant to be happening in the penthouse. So that initiated the first call out. Did you get to the bottom of why the second call out was initiated?
I think that it was an actual second call. From my perspective, I thought it was a second call.
That is my understanding. Yes, I don't want to put it necessarily
no,
on the record as fact, but I thought there was some kind of second call. But whether that was direct to LAPD or came through a different... Anyway, there was a second set of officers that attended the penthouse, and so Officer Gatlin gave evidence. And again, what was your view of him? He
was very professional. He said that they did make sure, because they had the body cam footage, so you could actually see them going into the building and going into the penthouse. The one gentleman who did come out tried to close the door and be like, "No, I'm going to get the card," and they're like, "No. We need to make sure. We have to make sure everybody's
because he made
okay."
The point that it was Josh Drew, wasn't it, who met him at the front of the apartment. He said, in situations like this, we don't know whether he might be pretending to be someone else. He could be the perpetrator. They have to do their own visual check.
Yeah, exactly.
But we saw the body cam footage several times, I might say, and the body cam footage showed that, that was a cursory sweep, wasn't it, that the amount of time they were in the building.
But as far as they were concerned, they had already done one sweep, and they're for the first team, so the second team coming out really wouldn't have spent as much time.
Okay. Thank you very much for giving us a debrief on the two police witnesses that we saw today.
You're very welcome.
I'm going to stop the tape, move the microphone along the bench, and restart the interview. So this will cut just perfectly and no one will notice anything that's happening. Just strange. Java.
Hi.
Hi. I met you and your rabbit before.
Yes, you did.
How is the bunny? Babe?
Lil Babe.
Lil Babe?
Yes, Lil
How
Babe
is she?
is doing very well. She's
Good.
currently in Brooklyn.
Didn't bring her along today?
No, she's filming a new TV show and she had some things in her schedule. Unfortunately, she could not be here this week.
She sounds like a superstar rabbit.
I know.
She is. You've met her.
But yeah, she's got charisma.
There was a lot of paparazzi out here following her around. Luckily, we got her out safely.
I've got archive footage of Babe that I can cut to while we're talking, so everyone knows exactly.
Lil Babe's World. Lil Babe's World on Instagram. Television show coming soon.
Okay, let's get back to what was happening at Fairfax County Court today, which was Alejandro Romero, a charismatic gentleman, I thought, who gave evidence from the front seat of his car, which again, I don't think I've ever seen anyone give a... Really?
Yeah. She chose him.
You chose Alejandro Romero?
She chose him.
Okay. No, that's fine. That's fine. We can... we can...
You can do Alejandro.
Are you all right to do Christian Carino
I'm
now?
all right to do Christian, what's his face?
I thought you're all right.
Yeah, go on.
Oh, sorry, everyone.
No,
I thought we were doing this chronologically along the bench.
Yes, we were, but you didn't pay attention to what people were saying. What your initial
a great gift for a court reporter.
But I have to say, everybody is running on fumes.
Yes.
So,
yes, that's true.
Okay, we're all a little bit
but
confused and getting cold.
Yeah, because
Okay, well, are you all right to switch straight round to Alejandro Romero just like that?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Wait.
Go on. Yeah, go on. No, I'll do. Not physically, but Christian. What's his face?
Christian Carino. Okay, so coming up soon, Christian Carino will be discussed. But first, let's talk about, if you don't mind, JARVALAND.
Absolutely.
Alejandro Romero, who was the
one,
concierge, sort of doorman at the Eastern Columbia building where Johnny Depp had 5 penthouses at the roof in downtown LA, and Alejandro was he was questioned repeatedly on whether or not he'd seen bruises on Amber Heard's face when he met her 4 days after the alleged incident at the Eastern Columbia building, which the police attended.
Yes.
Yes.
As many witnesses have been questioned on.
Yeah. What was your feeling about the way he gave evidence? He literally did give evidence from the front seat of his car. It was a deposition. He was on oath. Who knows why he was doing it from there, but he was doing it.
I related to that. I loved that.
What did you make of him?
I've been doing a talk show in my car. Not that. I loved him, first off. I think he was super cute. Really personable, really funny, relatable. Pretty obviously to me, has no skin in this game, really. And is annoyed, like many people are that have been witnesses in this case, by being asked.
Or told. I mean, when you're deposed, you're told, aren't you?
How do you have?
You have to turn up to a deposition, don't you? I mean, maybe I've got that wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying as being asked about whether he saw her with bruises on her face, whether she was wearing makeup, these same, like, what is a pretty general assessment that anyone would do on a person that they saw in front of them. If they had a torn up, battered face, they probably would notice it. And Amber didn't have that, and he didn't see that. I think the most interesting, I also feel that a lot of times the Heard's counsel is going after witnesses in this way about these specific, does she use concealer? Do you know what kind of makeup? On what planet would this guy know what kind of makeup she wears, or anybody wears?
I suppose she's making the point that you don't know whether she's concealing a bruise under her makeup, because you don't know how skillful or otherwise she is at applying.
But I think it defeats, I think that's the purpose, and it defeats itself, because it's so much, and it's like, I don't know what brands of makeup she wears. If she wears them, I don't wear makeup, but I know when someone has a bruise on their face or a serious injury on their face, it's obvious to me.
But Elaine Bredehoff said you weren't looking for it. You didn't go looking for it.
If you have no signs, because he wouldn't have never suspected that Johnny Depp was beating Amber Heard, obviously. Because it's like, if he had been looking for it, he would have had some suspicion of something in his mind. So of course he wasn't looking for it. I mean, if you don't suspect someone of being abused, you're not looking for bruises on their face when you see them.
But you see how this is going to play out, because we've had lots of witnesses over the course of this trial, as we did in London in 2020, to say they've never seen anything, they didn't see any injuries on Amber Heard, and then I'm sure her witnesses will be saying something different in terms of having to apply concealer to wounds and bruises and injuries in the same. And the point that so much depends on these photographs and the accuracy of these photographs and the witness evidence about seeing physical injuries, because there's no actual documentary evidence of violence, if you see what I mean. Do you understand why they're putting so much store by this? Or do you not?
But I think overly questioning people that saw Amber at close range and did not see any marks on her face.
This is my first experience of the American judicial system. I don't know whether this sort of thing, the over-questioning of witnesses, happens a lot.
It just reiterates the fact that all these people saw her, were around her at close distance during this time, and she was not upset and battered, and she had no marks on her face. And he saw her. I mean, it wasn't like he just saw her at the front desk and spent no more time with her and didn't look into her face, he even more so was with her.
And right at the end of his evidence, something happened which we heard the judge, Penny Ascarate, say to Elaine Bredehoff she'd never seen ever in her experience of being a chief judge, which was that Alejandro Romero drove off to terminate the deposition. He just I mean,
loved him.
He decided that he'd had enough. He just drove his car away. That was, I mean, you know, to have two experienced legal people completely bewildered by what they saw, but it was quite an interesting moment in court, I thought, to see that.
Yeah.
He'd clearly had enough
Yeah.
of giving evidence and talking about this litigation, which I can kind of understand by week 3 of my second trial to do with this. Echoes of Isaac Baruch, wasn't it? When he gave evidence, just
he was the highlight of the day, absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you very much, JARVALAND. I'm going to cut, and no one will notice as we move to Sharon. My thanks to JARVALAND, who is still here, along with Jennifer, but we're now going to talk to Sharon, because she's got the talking stick, about Christian Carino's evidence. Christian Carino, former agent for both Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, for a reasonably sort of brief period. We covered a lot of ground with Christian, didn't we? And there were, I thought, 1 or 2 interesting revelations.
Yeah.
First of all, before we get to what he said, what did you make of the way he presented on screen? Because most video depositions we've had to date have been very dull backgrounds and quite sort of smart, formal presentation. Christian had an altogether different vibe that he was giving off.
Yeah, and I like the fact that he had 2 different scenes going on behind him.
There was the examination and the cross-examination.
Yeah.
But so the first one, we saw sort of chandeliers and lighting and mirrors, and then and we saw a mirror where we saw the back of him, and it was, I don't know whether he'd arranged that kind of shot or whether he
mirrors, but yeah.
No.
Chandeliers and mirrors.
He just slapped his laptop down and rocked up with his pork pie straw beach hat on, and just.
And I was trying to read what his tattoo said first of all.
Yeah, he's got a tattoo on his forearm because he was just sort of, he was like that when the deposition started. He didn't come across as a formal kind of person.
No, very relaxed, very calm, chilled.
A little bit exasperated by some of the questioning.
I think getting very stressed by the intense questioning.
But take me through the content of what he said. What was the highlight for you?
I think the fact that you
have to huddle together for warmth.
Cold in Virginia. I think the fact that he was getting very frustrated with, trying to get to what Elaine was getting at. What he had to keep saying, "What do you mean by that? What are you referring to?" And I could tell that he was getting frustrated. But it was interesting that he actually was working for Amber first, then Johnny.
Yeah.
And that he became, quite good friends with them both. But the Elon Musk thing was...
Oh, that you were going to go straight to the Elon Musk. Come on then. What's
biggest thing?
The Elon Musk revelation was...
Elon Musk dated Amber Heard.
And was this... Now, let's get the specifics. Did we go into dates?
Well...
It's a little bit cloudy, wasn't it?
It was a bit cloudy. It was post, I think... Well, it was post Johnny and Amber, but...
What was the significance of the fact that Christian Carino confirmed that Amber Heard and Elon Musk were in a relationship?
Because I've never heard that confirmed before.
Because there have been rumours, obviously, flying around.
Yeah. I mean, there's been rumours as well that he was seeing her while she was still in a relationship with Johnny, but again, that's not been confirmed. But
so that was a bomb that he dropped today.
Yeah.
We also had some confirmation of things we knew. He described Johnny Depp as being tardy on the set of Pirates 5, but then he's been tardy for everything his entire life.
Yeah, I did see the back of Johnny's head when he said that, and Johnny kind of nodded his head to the side as if to say, "Oh yeah, that's me."
Yeah.
But
And he said that his private life was shrouded in mystery before the legal revelations, because that's, I think, to a certain degree true, wasn't it? He had a very private life with Vanessa Paradis, didn't he?
Yeah,
and then obviously this relationship with Amber Heard, and when it went wrong, the litigation started. Didn't realise quite how many litigations he'd been involved in the latter part of the last decade.
Yeah.
And
sadly.
And he, I mean, it took a long time for him to get to the point of agreeing that whilst Johnny Depp was still considered in his mind one of the finest actors of his generation, his off-screen reputation had definitely suffered as a result of Amber Heard's allegations. I was wondering why it took so long for him to get to that point.
Yeah, I think he wanted to talk from a professional point of view, that he was one of the greatest actors of his generation, and he is. I think what Elaine was wanting to get at was, has he lost out financially because of this? But it's his reputation and his good name that he's lost out, I think, and a lot of his private life being dragged through courts and, out in the public arena is not great for anybody. And I think that's what, you know, he was trying to say, that professionally he's still a good actor, and what's happening to him off the screen is affecting technically what's going on.
I thought, from a, I suppose, slightly industry perspective, that what was interesting about what he said was that distractions like litigation take up oxygen when you. I suppose an agent would always think of a talent as a product, and if the product is successful and they're talking about the relationships that product has with a movie or a brand, then that's great for potential clients. But if it's sort of if whenever someone talks about their client or their talent in relation to anything, they have to drag in the litigation or the complication, that sucks the oxygen away of what they want them to talk about, which is of course whatever product they're trying to flog or whatever movie they're trying to sell. And I thought that was quite a good explanation from an agent's perspective as why they think litigation is bad.
Yeah. I wasn't sure whether he'd like bring up cancel culture, because that's a very real thing at the minute. And the minute that something is tarnished, like a reputation or possibly a career, then it is very much cancel culture once one starts. Because I mean, they mentioned Pirate 6, but they didn't mention Fantastic Beasts, and that he had to resign from that.
He wasn't his agent by that stage.
No, I don't think he was. So it
So,
wasn't anything to do with him, because I think he moved on, and that's what he said with another agent.
But he was he was a sort of professional but engaging presence, and I mean, to be fair to Elaine Bredoff, she did sort of finally break him down to get what she wanted from him, which was to talk about the off-screen situation, which was, you know, why we were all there. But anything on the same lines as the Elon Musk news? What else was there that came from Christian that you particularly thought was interesting?
The thing that I thought was interesting was the whole that Amber went through him after she'd taken out the TRO to set up a meeting with Johnny, and he did say he was reluctant at first. Quite rightly.
Johnny was reluctant at first, but
yeah.
Christian saw the value in it, didn't he? Because he basically wanted to see if there was any rapprochement or way back, because if they kiss and make up, essentially, it doesn't suck the oxygen out of whatever he wants to get them to do. So
True.
he said that he set up the meeting or brokered the meeting, and the one big stumbling block was whether or not Johnny would be be seen to be breaking the TRO, and Amber gave assurances that she wasn't ever going to sort of try and get him for that if they were then in a room together. And then we all know what happened. He set up the meeting, they had the meeting, it moved from one house to a hotel room, and then we've heard the audio recordings and the disaster around that.
Yeah, the argument started, and then that was it.
And I had to dive out for a media commitment at the very end, so I missed the lawyer.
Oh,
and because you've got the talking stick, I'm going to have to
okay.
keep talking to you about that, Sharon. How was the lawyer? Who was the
Yeah,
lawyer? Explain
it
the lawyer.
was Laura Wasser, who is Johnny's divorce lawyer.
Yeah, I'm going to catch up with this on YouTube later on, and to make sure that I've been across all the evidence. But
so it was like lawyer on lawyer, which, you know, woman lawyer on
woman they both
lawyer.
know what they're doing.
So but two strong women, like, you know, and Laura was very much, you know, playing ball back with Elaine, like,
right.
You know, what do you mean?
Any revelations come out that are worth
not
sharing?
Not so much at the minute. I mean, it was just going through different documents. Did you receive this letter? Yes, I did. I think the better one will be tomorrow.
Yeah, we're going to have a bit more Laura tomorrow, aren't we? We're going to have
I think we've got 2 hours
the
of Laura
examination.
tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
He says.
So.
Okay, well, that's something to look forward to. I'll do my revision on the Today Laura when we finish this.
And I don't know, but I've heard that something is going to come out of this one with Laura tomorrow. I don't know. I'm not promising. But
sources,
I don't know.
Sources close to Sharon.
I don't know.
This is exciting.
Listening to people.
Okay, ladies, thank you so much, Jennifer, JARVALAND, and Sharon. Thank you so much for joining me on the park bench this really quite chilly afternoon.
Very chilly.
It doesn't look like the weather's going to get that much better for the rest of the week, but it's good to digest the day's events with people who've been in court and get your take on it. So thank you very much indeed.
Very appreciated.
Right, well, thank you for watching another episode of Reporting Depp v. Heard, 3 days into week 3, and the court seems to be doing absolutely fine. The lawyers are chipper. we're getting to know them quite a bit now as they walk in and out of court. The reporters on this case have this dichotomy in that we're not allowed to do anything with any electronic devices whilst we're in court. And so you're constantly split between that desire to be in court, to witness what's happening and get that special feeling of what it's like to soak up how everyone's reacting in court, see what Johnny Depp's doing, even if it's from the back of his head, or being outside and actually filing copy and producing content for the people whose outlets you are reporting for. And it's something that we haven't quite been able to crack. So the reporters are dipping in and out of court, but as a result we see the lawyers and all the spectators as they file in and out, and get to know the deputies, who are, to a man and woman, personable, authoritative and generally very forgiving of this event which has descended upon them. Thanks very much, by the way, for supporting what I'm doing. If you want to support it further, you can go to reportingdeppvheard.net/newsletter. There is a daily newsletter which I put together at sort of the same time as these audio and video updates, and it basically gives my impressions of the day in court. There's a small donation to be made for that, but it's a one-time only fee. And you can get that, as I say, at reportingdeppvheard.net/newsletter, where you can also find the podcast, the YouTube, and the transcripts of the first 3 days of Johnny Depp's evidence. If I am able to raise enough money through the newsletter, I will commission more transcripts, because that at the moment appears to be the only way of doing so. If you are a very wealthy individual or a super fast transcriber with time on your hands and have taken an interest in this case, or you're a documentary maker or someone who wants to go halves on getting these transcripts commissioned and transcribed and published, then please let me know, because I think there's quite an important public interest in getting all these up online so that they can be pored over by many people for many years to come. This case is not just about a celebrity trial and the toxic relationship at the centre of it, but there are all sorts of legal and cultural fault lines running through it, and there are many, many people watching this. So if we can provide some sort of public service by getting these transcripts, even the unofficial ones taken from the Pool TV feed, transcribed and published, then I think that might be fun. But we're not going to do that unless we've got any money to pay for them. So if you are able or interested to help out, please either make a donation to the newsletter or maybe get in touch directly, and we'll see if we can get these transcripts of the entire trial up and published before the trial is over, which would be fun. All right, I'm done for the day. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.